Showing support for family members and close friends of the deceased requires a great deal of sensitivity. There is still a lot of stigma related to suicide in Alaska. Many people find it uncomfortable to talk about suicide or to speak with someone who has lost a loved one to suicide. People often drift away from survivors because they feel awkward and they don't know what to say or are afraid that anything they say might cause more harm than good. However, there are people who are able to support survivors of a loss to suicide during the grieving and healing process. It's essential to have a support system during this process. This can include family, friends, and other survivors of a loss to suicide. Contagion is a very real concern after a suicide, especially for those close to the person who died. Having a group of people to reach out to during the ups and downs of the grieving cycle is extremely important. It's also important to know that the love and support of friends and family might not be enough, and it is okay to seek help from mental health providers and other healthcare professionals when appropriate. The road to recovery is long. No one ever really gets over a loved one's suicide. They just learn to cope with the loss over time. Recovery will take different lengths of time for different people. There is no set time for grieving and healing. There will be good days and bad days. Expect setbacks during the healing process and be prepared to support the survivor of the loss to suicide throughout the recovery process. One step at a time. In the days and weeks after a suicide, help the survivors of the loss focus on immediate responsibilities and encourage them to wait to make any major decisions. As the recovery process goes on, help the survivors take on more. Recognize that some days will be much more painful than others, such as birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, and holidays. Encourage survivors of a loss to suicide to reach out for support when they need it. Recognize that small things, a song, a favorite restaurant, a favorite sports team, can bring back sorrowful emotions. Encourage survivors to associate those small things with pleasurable memories of the person who died. Take care. Remember to take care of yourself. Grieving can be stressful, both physically and emotionally. Supporting someone through the grief process can cause stress too. Encourage survivors to take care of basic needs, such as getting enough sleep, eating well, and exercising, and then do the same for yourself. Sometimes professional help from a doctor or mental health provider might be needed by both the person who lost someone to suicide and by the person providing the support. Accessing that sort of help is important to healing and recovery. Children will need special help. Tell children the truth about a suicide death in an age-appropriate way as soon as possible. It's best for them to hear it from someone they love rather than from someone else later. Also, hiding a painful truth can damage a child's trust in you. You can say things such as the person died from something like a heart attack, except it was a brain attack. The person was not thinking clearly when he or she died. Being honest helps everyone heal. Children have the same range of feelings as adults, but they might express them differently. They might behave as if nothing has happened. This does not mean that they don't have intense feelings. Acting normally might make them feel better as they struggle to cope with their feelings. Make time to listen and just be with children, and reassure them that they are loved and supported. Children typically worry and ask questions. Who will take care of me now? Did I cause this to happen? Will it happen to me? They need to be reassured that loving adults and family will continue to take care of them and that they are not responsible for the suicide. Be honest with children. This way, they can take steps to prevent suicide from happening to them by learning healthy ways to problem solve and cope with difficult feelings. Allow children space to grieve as individuals separately from adults. Adults should take time to grieve as individuals too. It's healthy to share feelings of grief with children, but when expressing intense, difficult emotions that children might find scary, do it away from them. All family members, including children, can benefit from survivor support groups. The Family Members and Close Friends chapter in the Postvention Guide contains excellent information that you can share with the family and close friends of the deceased that will help them through this process. You can also find survivor resources to provide to them as well.